Dear students, I am Jayashree Joshi from BYK College of Commerce. Today we are going to see chapter number 4, that is documents related to formation of a company. At the time of incorporation of a company, documents have to be submitted to the registrar of companies. First, Memorandum of Association, and second, Articles of Association. A public company, if it is collecting capital from the public, must issue prospectus to invite the public to buy its shares, debentures, etc. Now, let us see Memorandum of Association. It is a primary document of a company, as it states the purpose for which the company is formed. It describes the range of activities a company can undertake. We will see definition. Memorandum of Association as a legal document that must be prepared by every company as per the provisions of the Companies Act 2013. Understood? Memorandum of Association as a legal document that must be prepared by every company as per the provisions of the Companies Act 2013. Okay? The Memorandum of Association of the company is its charter and defines the limitations of the powers of the company. Means, memorandum is a document which describes the constitution of the company and its rights. Correct? Memorandum is a document which describes the constitution of the company and its rights. It states the powers of the company, that is, what it can do and what it cannot do. Correct? Now, let us see features of Memorandum of Association. That is, it is a primary document. Memorandum is a primary document of a company which states its aims and objectives. It is very important. Then it describes and regulates the relationship between the company and outsiders, with the shareholders, creditors, suppliers, investors, etc. Who can make out from the memorandum whether a company is permitted to undertake a certain activity. Then, next point is, every company needs to prepare its Memorandum of Association at the time of its incorporation and submit it along with the application for incorporation to the ROC, Registrar of Company. Then it is prepared by the promoters and need to be signed by minimum 7 persons in case of a public company, 2 persons in case of a private company, and 1 person in case of one-person company. Okay? Each subscriber must write against his name and the number of shares he has agreed to subscribe as per the Companies Act 2013. And each subscriber must take at least 1 share. This will not be required for a company with guarantee without share capital. Then next point is, it cannot contain anything contrary to the provisions of the Companies Act 2013. Correct? Then any act done by the company which goes beyond the powers of memorandum will be ultra-virus, that is, it will be invalid. Now what is ultra-virus? The word ultra means beyond. Correct? The word ultra means beyond and the word virus means the powers. Thus, ultra-virus means beyond the powers of memorandum. Ultra-virus states that any activity done by a company which is beyond the powers of the company will be null and legally ineffective, even if all the members have agreed to such act. Okay? Understood? Next point is, it is public document and anyone who wants to enter into contract, listen carefully, it is a public document and anyone who wants to enter into a contract with the company is supposed to have knowledge about the contents of a company's Memorandum of Association. Okay? As it defines the nature and character of the company. It is not so easy to alter the clauses. The Act has laid down specific rules and provisions to be followed to the alter each clause. Correct? It contains name clause. Now we will see clauses of memorandum. Name clause, address clause, object clause, liability clause, capital clause, and association or subscription clause. Now first, the name clause. This clause mentions the name of the company. As a company is a legal entity distinct from its members, it has to have its own name to establish its separate identity. The promoters choose a name for the company. And some point should be kept in mind while choosing the name of the company. First, the name should not be identical. The name of an already existing company registered under this Act or any previous company law. Then, the name should not contain any words which will constitute an offense under any law. The name or words in the name shall not offend any section of people. Okay? The name shall not resemble any registered trademark. In case of public company limited by shares or guarantee, listen carefully, in case of a public company limited by shares or guarantee, the last word of the name should be limited. That is Tata Steel Limited, for example. Correct? Similarly, for a private company limited by shares or guarantee, the last word of the name should be Private Limited. For example, any POSCO India Private Limited. Correct? And in case of one person company, the word one person company must be mentioned in the name of the company in bracket, for example, Smart Services Private Limited, and in bracket OPC, that is one person company. Then the address clause means registered office clause. The clause states the name of the state in which the registered office of the company will be located. Every company must have its registered office within 30 days of its incorporation. A registered office is a must as it establishes the domicile of a company, means location of a company. Then it is the address to which all communications, notices, etc. will be sent. Then it is also the place where all statutory books, records and documents of the company will be kept. And the address clause also indicates of the court jurisdiction of the court where cases can be filed by the company against others. Okay? Then the object clause. This clause defines the object for which a company is formed. This clause defines the objects for which a company is formed. It indicates the range of activities of a company can undertake. This clause states in detail the main object for which the company is to be incorporated and also describes any other activities it may undertake if necessary in achieving its main objects. The objects of the company must not be illegal against the public company or in contravention of the Companies Act or any other laws. Correct? A company cannot do anything beyond or outside the scope of its objects. It can do anything which is incidental to and consequential upon the object specified in this clause. Okay? Understood? Now we will see the liability clause. This clause states the extent of liability of the members of the company. In case of a company limited by shares, this clause states that the liability of the member is limited to the extent of the amount unpaid on the face value of shares held by the member. Correct? Similarly, in case of a company limited by guarantee, this clause states the amount which every member guarantees to pay towards the assets of the company at the time of winding up or towards the cost or expenses at the time of winding up. Okay? And in case of unlimited liability, company with or without share capital, this clause states that the liability of its members is unlimited. Okay? Then next clause is the capital clause. This clause states the amount of capital, correct? Amount of capital with which the company is registered. This capital is hence called as registered capital. This is the maximum capital which the company is authorized to raise, hence it is also called as authorized capital. In case of a company with share capital, this clause states the total amount of share capital in terms of total number of shares and the fixed value per share called as face value of the shares. And if a company wants to issue more shares to raise more funds than the amount of authorized capital, then the company has to alter the capital clause. Okay? Then the association or subscription clause. This is the last clause of the Memorandum of Association and it is placed at the end. In this clause, the subscribers to the memorandum make a declaration stating that they are desirous of forming a company as per the memorandum and agree to take a certain number of shares in the capital of the company. In case of a public company, the memorandum must be signed by at least 7 subscribers, whereas and for a private company by at least 2 subscribers and 1 subscriber in case of one person company. Each subscriber has to put his name, address and occupation in the presence of at least one witness who shall also put in his details. Okay? Understood? What is memorandum and clauses of memorandum and features of memorandum. Correct? Now, let us see articles of association. Articles of association is the second most important document which needs to be filled with the ROC among with the memorandum at the time of incorporation of a company. This document is subordinate to the memorandum. It is like the bylaws of the company as it contains rules and regulations that governs the internal management of the company. It defines the powers, rights and duties of the board of directors and officers and also the manner in which the business of the company will be carried on. It established a relationship between the company and its members and also between the members. Okay? Article is a legal document in writing which contains rules and regulations which helps in internal management of the company. Understood? Articles of association usually includes rules and regulations regarding powers, rights and duties of governing body, issues of shares, calls on shares, forfeiture of shares, procedure for transfer and transmission of shares and debentures, etc. Okay? Companies Act has given the format in the form of model articles, that is table F, G, H, I and J for preparing the articles of association for different types of companies. Now we will see contents of articles of association. The article of association usually contains rules and regulations related to the following matters. A company may adopt the model articles as given by the Companies Act 2013 or add additional matters as per the requirements. Share capital. Shares and their value and their division into different types of shares. Then, rights of each class of shareholders and procedure for variation of their rights. Okay? Then, procedure relating to allotment of shares, then making of calls and forfeiture of shares. Then rules relating to transfer and transmission of shares and the procedure to be followed. Then appointment, remuneration, power, duties, etc. of the directors and officers of the company. Then provisions related to board, committee and general meeting. Then voting rights of members, proxy, quorum, poll of meeting, etc. Audit of accounts, transfer of money to reserves and declaration of dividend. Then borrowing powers of the company and any mode of borrowings. Okay? Let us see what is prospectus. When a public company is collecting capital, listen carefully. When a public company is collecting capital by issuing shares to the public, has to issue a document called prospectus. Means prospectus is a document which contains information about various aspects about the company and invites the investors to buy the securities offered by the company. Now, let us see types of prospectus issued by a company. Abridged prospectus. It contains the main content of a prospectus but in brief. It is attached with the application form issued by the company while offering its securities. Abridged prospectus is issued only in case of public offer made by a company. Then self-prospectus. A public company may raise funds from the public by issuing securities as and when it needs more funds. For every such issue, fresh prospectus is to be issued. Correct? The process of preparing and registering a prospectus is very time consuming. Thus, instead of preparing fresh prospectus for every issue, a company can prepare self prospectus. Okay? Then red herring prospectus. A red herring prospectus is a kind of incomplete prospectus as it does not include complete particulars of the quantity of securities offered or the issue price of the securities being offered. It is usually issued at the time of IPO, that is, initial public offer, or for any issue done under the book building process. Then a company must file a red herring prospectus with ROC at least 3 days prior to the opening of the subscription list and the offer. Okay? Then next, letter of offer. When a company undertakes further issue of shares by making a rights issue, that is, offering shares directly to its existing shareholders in proportion to the shares held by them, the company issues a document called as letter of offer. Okay? And last, offer letter. An offer letter is issued to select group of investors by a company when it makes private placement offer securities. Private placement means when a company is offering its shares to any select group of investors. Correct? Now, you write down distinguish Memorandum of Association and Article of Association. Okay? Understood? Thank you.